What would you do if, at the height of your professional success, you discovered that the true love of your life was struggling to survive, raising the child that could have been yours alone? What if the only way to protect them was to confront a violent and dangerous past? Get ready for an emotional journey of redemption, love, and courage, where every decision can change the fate of a family forever. Don't miss the chapter of this story that will make you rethink the true meaning of success and happiness. Hello. Welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any stories. The sun was setting over Manhattan, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink that contrasted with the elongated shadows of the skyscrapers. On the rooftop of the tallest of them, Ethan Caldwell looked out over the city he had conquered, a glass of 50-year-old whiskey in his hand, as bitter as his thoughts. The party around him was a buzz of forced laughter and superficial conversation. Men in suits and women in designer dresses circulated around the large space, all wanting a moment with the famous business tycoon. Ethan smiled automatically, waving to a group of executives who greeted him from across the room. "Ethan, old boy." The voice of Richard, his lawyer and closest friend, cut through the noise. "Another deal successfully closed. You really do have the Midas touch." Ethan turned around, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Thanks, Rich. It's good to have you here." How could it not be? You've turned a startup into an empire in less than a decade. Everyone wants a piece of the great Ethan Caldwell. Richard's words echoed hollowly in Ethan's ears. He turned to the window, his gaze lost in the vastness of the city. "Everyone except those who really matter," he muttered to himself. For a moment, the mask of success fell away, and Richard caught a glimpse of something he rarely saw on his friend's face. Regret. "Ethan, is everything all right?" Blinking rapidly, Ethan recomposed his expression. "Sure, just tired. These businesses can be exhausting." But as Richard walked away to get another drink, Ethan allowed himself to dive into long, suppressed memories. A melodious laugh echoed in his mind, accompanied by the image of sparkling brown eyes and a smile that lit up the world. Mia. The name he hadn't allowed himself to utter for years. Shaking his head to clear the memories, Ethan checked his watch. The charity gala he sponsored every year was just around the corner, another night of fake smiles and empty handshakes. As he got ready, adjusting his bow tie in front of the mirror, Ethan wondered when his life had become so empty. He had everything he'd ever dreamed of: money, power, respect. So why did he feel so alone? The private elevator took him to the first floor, where a limousine was waiting. The streets of New York passed by in a blur of lights and movement, as full of life as Ethan felt hollow inside. When he arrived at the venue, camera flashes momentarily blinded him. Smiles, nods, more handshakes. Ethan navigated the sea of anonymous faces with the ease of years of practice. It was when he entered the main hall that something changed. A strange sensation, as if the air around him had become denser. Ethan stopped, his gaze sweeping the elegant crowd, and then he saw her. Across the room, helping to organize the donations, was a woman he had never expected to meet again. Time had been kind to her, but Ethan would recognize that smile anywhere. Mia. The world around him seemed to disappear. For the first time in years, Ethan Caldwell felt his heart beat faster, genuine emotion breaking through his carefully constructed armor. Without realizing it, he took a step towards her, and another, and another. The void in his chest, which no amount of money or success had been able to fill, began to stir with something he had long forgotten: hope. The ballroom of the Plaza Hotel sparkled with the light of 1,000 crystals, reflected in the jewelry and champagne glasses of the guests. Ethan Caldwell, normally so at ease at these events, suddenly felt out of place. His eyes couldn't tear themselves away from Mia, who was smiling gently at the donors as she organized the silent auctions. With his heart racing, Ethan began to cross the hall. Every step towards her seemed to awaken long-buried memories. The smell of lavender she always wore, the sound of her laughter on a lazy Sunday afternoon, the soft touch of her fingers intertwined with his. "Mr. Caldwell," a shrill voice interrupted him. It was Mrs. Abernathy, one of the Foundation's biggest donors. "How wonderful to see you. We need to discuss the new community center." Ethan forced a smile. "Of course, Mrs. Abernathy. Can we set up a meeting next week?" "But darling, as long as we're here," she began, but Ethan was already trailing off with a mumbled apology. Finally, he arrived where Mia was standing. She looked up from her clipboard and, for a moment, the world seemed to freeze. Recognition shone in her eyes, followed by a mixture of surprise and something Ethan couldn't decipher. Sorrow. Longing. "Ethan?" Her voice was exactly as he remembered it, soft and melodious. "Hello, Mia." He took a deep breath, trying to control the tremor in his voice. "How long?" A heavy silence settled between them, laden with years of unspoken words and broken promises. Mia was the first to break it. "I didn't expect to see you here." Ethan laughed humorlessly. "It's my foundation. I guess I should say the same. I didn't know you were involved in charity work." "People change, Ethan." There was a hint of bitterness in his voice. "Some for the better, others." She let the sentence hang in the air, her eyes assessing him. The weight of that gaze made Ethan feel exposed, as if all his mistakes and regrets were on display. "Mia, Mommy." A little boy of about 8 ran up to them, interrupting the moment. "Look what I won in the raffle." Mia smiled, a genuine smile that lit up her face in a way that Ethan hadn't seen for years. "That's great, Noah. Show it to Mommy." As the boy excitedly showed off a small trophy, Ethan watched the interaction, feeling a pang of, what? Regret? Envy? "Your son?" he asked, although the answer was obvious. Mia nodded, running her hand through the boy's hair. "Yes, this is Noah." Noah looked at Ethan curiously. "Are you a friend of my mom's?" Ethan hesitated, unsure of how to answer. Mia intervened. "This is Mr. Caldwell, Noah. We've known each other for a long time." "Oh." Noah seemed to lose interest quickly. "Can I go see the other awards, Mom?" "Of course, dear. But don't go far." When Noah walked away, the silence returned, even heavier than before. "He seems like a great kid," Ethan commented, trying to fill the void. Mia smiled, but there was a sadness in her eyes. "He's the best thing that ever happened to me." Ethan felt the weight of those words. In another world, in another life, he could have been her son too. "Mia, I know this is probably the last person you want to see, but—" "Mr. Caldwell," another guest approached, interrupting him. "Could you give us a moment? We have some questions about the donations." Ethan looked back at Mia, desperate to continue the conversation, to say everything that had been stuck in his throat for years. But she had already turned around, calling Noah back. "I need to go," she said, without looking directly at him. "It was interesting to see you, Ethan." And so she walked away, taking Noah by the hand, leaving Ethan with the feeling that he had lost something precious once again. As he turned to attend to his guest, Ethan couldn't help thinking that, somehow, the universe was giving him a second chance, and this time, he couldn't afford to waste it. The evening wore on, and the glow of the gala began to lose its luster for Ethan. Every superficial conversation, every forced smile, seemed to drain his energy. His eyes kept searching the crowd for Mia, catching glimpses of her as she moved gracefully through the hall. Finally, when the main auction ended and the guests began to disperse, Ethan saw his chance. Mia was alone near the bar, organizing some papers. He approached, feeling his heart speed up with every step. "Mia," he called out softly, "can we talk? Please." She looked up, hesitating. For a moment, Ethan feared she would refuse, but then she nodded slowly. "All right, Ethan, but I don't have much time." They moved away to a quieter corner of the room, away from prying ears. The silence between them was palpable, laden with years of unspoken history. You look fine," Ethan began, awkwardly. Mia gave a small smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Thank you. You too. Success seems to have treated you well." Ethan felt the weight of those words. "Mia, I'm sorry. For everything." She looked at him, surprised by the sudden vulnerability in his voice. "I was a fool," he continued. "I thought success, money, was all I needed. But every day since I left you—" "Ethan," Mia interrupted him, her voice trembling. "Please don't do this. Not now." "I need you to know," he insisted. "Leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life." Mia closed her eyes for a moment, as if trying to pull herself together. When she opened them again, there was a mixture of pain and determination in her gaze. "Things have changed, Ethan. I've changed. I have responsibilities now, a son to raise." "What about Noah's father?" Ethan asked, dreading the answer. Mia hesitated. "We divorced 2 years ago. It wasn't a good marriage." Something in the way she said it made Ethan worry. "Mia, did he hurt you?" She looked away, and that was answer enough. Anger bubbled up inside Ethan, mixed with overwhelming guilt. If he had stayed— "It wasn't your fault," Mia said, as if reading his thoughts. "I made my choices, just as you made yours." "But I could have been there for you," Ethan argued. "I should have been." Mia sighed. "The past is the past, Ethan. We can't change it. But we can change the future," he said softly. "Mia, I know I have no right to ask this, but can we try again? To be friends, at least?" She studied him for a long moment, as if trying to decipher his true intentions. "I don't know if it's a good idea, Ethan. There's too much at stake right now." "Noah." "I understand," Ethan interrupted her. "But please, at least give me a chance to prove that I've changed, that I can be someone you can trust again." Mia seemed to be fighting an internal battle. Finally, she spoke. "A coffee. We can have a coffee and talk, but I can't promise anything beyond that." Relief flooded Ethan. It was more than he had expected. "Thank you, Mia. You won't regret it, I promise." At that moment, Noah appeared, tugging on Mia's hand. "Mom, I'm tired. Can we go?" Mia smiled at her son, running her hand through his hair. "Of course, darling. Let's go." She turned to Ethan one last time. "I'll text you about the coffee. Good night, Ethan." As he watched them drive away, Ethan felt a mixture of hope and apprehension. This was his chance to put things right, to fill the void that had consumed him for years. But he also knew that the road ahead would be difficult. Mia had a life now, a son to protect, and there was clearly more to her story than she was willing to share. As he left the gala, Ethan made a silent promise to himself. This time, he wouldn't let fear or ambition get in the way. This time, he would do everything right. The aroma of freshly ground coffee filled the air of the small coffee shop on the Lower East Side. Ethan arrived early, choosing a discreet table in the corner. His fingers drummed nervously on his cup of American coffee, while his eyes kept on the door. When Mia walked in, it was as if time had stopped. She was dressed casually, in jeans and a simple blouse, so different from the elegant gala dress. Still, to Ethan, she had never looked more beautiful. "Hi," she said softly, taking a seat opposite him. "Hi," Ethan replied, a nervous smile on his lips. "Thanks for coming." Mia ordered a cappuccino and, for a few moments, they sat in silence, the weight of unlived years hanging between them. "How's Noah?" Ethan asked, trying to break the ice. Mia's face lit up as she spoke of her son. "He's fine. At school now. He's an amazing boy, you know? So smart and kind." Ethan smiled, genuinely happy for her. "He seems to be. You did a great job, Mia." She lowered her eyes, a faint blush tinging her cheeks. "Thank you. It wasn't always easy, but—" "Mia," Ethan interrupted softly. "What happened? After we left?" She took a deep breath, as if gathering her courage. "It was hard at first. I was hurt, confused. I immersed myself in work, trying to forget. That's when I met Greg." Ethan felt a pang of jealousy, but forced himself to remain calm. "He seemed perfect at first," Mia continued. "Caring, loving. We got married after a year of dating. Noah was born soon after." She paused, her eyes filling with unshed tears. "But things have changed. Greg, he had problems. With drinking, with his temper." Ethan felt his heart squeeze. "Mia, She nodded slightly, confirming his worst fears. "At first it was just shouting insults. Then, well, you can imagine." Anger bubbled up inside Ethan. "Why didn't you seek help?" "It's not that simple," Mia replied, her voice trembling. "I was afraid. For me, for Noah. Greg threatened to take my son away from me if I tried to leave." Ethan reached out, hesitantly touching Mia's fingers lightly. To his relief, she didn't pull away. "How did you manage to leave?" he asked softly. "It was 2 years ago. Greg came home drunk, more violent than usual. Noah was there." Mia closed her eyes, reliving the painful memory. "Something inside me snapped. I grabbed Noah and ran out. A neighbor helped us, called the police." Ethan felt a mixture of admiration for Mia's strength and overwhelming guilt for not having been there to protect her. "Mia, I'm so sorry. If I'd known—" She shook her head. "It wasn't your responsibility, Ethan. We went our separate ways." "But I should have been there," he insisted. "I was a fool, Mia. I thought business success would fill the void I've felt since I left you. But every achievement, every million in the bank, only made me feel emptier." Mia looked at him with a mixture of surprise and understanding. "Ethan, I never stopped loving you," he confessed, the words coming out before he could contain them. "All those years, you were there, in the back of my mind, in my heart." The silence that followed was deafening. Mia seemed to be processing everything she had heard, her emotions clearly in conflict. Finally, she spoke. "Ethan, I don't know what to say. A lot of time has passed. We have different lives now." "I know," he replied quickly. "I'm not asking for anything, Mia. I just want the chance to be present in your life somehow. As a friend, if nothing else." Mia studied him for a long moment. "It won't be easy. I have Noah to think about, and I'm still dealing with the after effects of my marriage." "I understand." Ethan nodded. "We can take it slow, one step at a time." A small smile appeared on Mia's lips. "All right. I think we can try." Just then, Mia's cell phone rang. She looked at the screen, frowning. "It's Noah's school. I need to take this." As Mia spoke into the phone, Ethan watched her expressions change from concern to relief and then to determination. When she hung up, there was a new urgency in her eyes. "Noah's fine," she explained, "but there was an incident at school. I need to go." Ethan nodded, understanding. "Of course, go." Mia stood up, grabbing her bag. Before leaving, she turned to Ethan. "Thank you for today, for listening. Maybe we can do this again." Ethan's heart filled with hope. "I'd love to." As he watched Mia hurry out of the cafe, Ethan felt a mixture of emotions. Joy that they had reconnected, sadness at what Mia had been through, and a renewed determination to be a part of her life, in whatever way she would allow. This was only the beginning, he knew. The road ahead would be full of challenges. But for the first time in years, Ethan felt he was on the right track. In the weeks following their meeting in the coffee shop, Ethan and Mia began to communicate more frequently. Occasional text messages evolved into late-night phone calls, their soft voices filling the silence of their respective solitude. One sunny Saturday afternoon, Ethan received a text from Mia inviting him to a picnic in Central Park with her and Noah. His heart raced at the prospect of spending time with the two of them. When he arrived at the agreed location, Ethan spotted Mia spreading a plaid tablecloth on the green grass. Noah was running in circles, chasing a soccer ball. "Ethan!" Mia waved, a genuine smile lighting up her face. He approached, carrying a basket. "I hope you don't mind. I brought some sandwiches and fruit." "How kind," Mia replied, looking genuinely touched by the gesture. Noah stopped his run, looking curiously at Ethan. "You're the man from the party," he said, recognizing him. Ethan bent down so that he was at the boy's height. "That's right. My name is Ethan. It's nice to officially meet you, Noah." The boy smiled shyly. "Would you like to play ball with me?" Ethan looked at Mia for approval. She nodded slightly. "I'd love to," replied Ethan, standing up. For almost an hour, Ethan and Noah kicked the ball back and forth, with Mia watching from the picnic tablecloth, her face a mixture of joy and apprehension. Seeing Ethan interacting so naturally with his son stirred up conflicting emotions. When they finally sat down to eat, Noah was animated, talking at the top of his lungs about soccer and his school. "Mom," he said between bites of sandwich, "can I go to soccer practice on Wednesday? Please." Mia hesitated. "Noah, honey, we talked about this. I can't take you. I have to work late that day." The boy's face fell. Ethan, seeing the opportunity, intervened gently. "If it's not a problem, I could take you," he offered. "Of course, if it's all right with you, Mia." Mia seemed surprised by the offer. I don't know, Ethan. It's a lot of responsibility." "Please, Mom," Noah begged. "Ethan's nice, and I really want to go to practice." Mia looked from Noah to Ethan, clearly conflicted. Finally, she sighed. "Fine, but I'll give you all the instructions, Ethan, and you call me as soon as you get there." Noah's face lit up with a huge smile. "Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Ethan." As Noah went back to playing, Mia and Ethan sat in comfortable silence. "Thank you," Mia said softly. "It means a lot to him." Ethan smiled. "It's a pleasure. He's a great kid, Mia. You did an amazing job." She lowered her eyes, a faint blush tinging her cheeks. "It wasn't always easy, but—" Suddenly, Mia's expression changed. Her eyes widened, fixed on a point beyond Ethan. He turned to see what was troubling her. A man was approaching, his gait determined and his expression grim. Ethan immediately noticed how Mia tensed. "Greg," she murmured, her voice barely audible. Ethan felt his body go rigid. This was Mia's ex-husband, the man who had hurt her. "Mia," Greg said, his voice laden with a false cordiality. "What a surprise to find you here." Noah, sensing his father's presence, ran up behind Mia, clinging to her leg. "What do you want, Greg?" Mia asked, her voice trembling slightly. Greg ignored the question, his eyes fixed on Ethan. "And who's this?" Ethan stood up, placing himself subtly between Greg and Mia. "Ethan Caldwell, friend of the family." Greg's eyes narrowed. "Family? As far as I know, Mia and Noah are my family." "Ex-family," Mia corrected, finding her courage. "You lost that right a long time ago, Greg." Greg's expression darkened. "Be careful what you say, Mia. Remember, I still have rights over Noah." Ethan felt anger bubbling up inside him. "I think you'd better leave now," he said, his voice low and threatening. Greg stepped forward, defiant. "And who's going to make me? You!" The tension in the air was palpable. Noah began to cry silently, clinging to Mia's leg. "Please," Mia begged. "Don't do this. Not in front of Noah." Mia's words seemed to hit something in Greg. He took a step back, but his eyes still burned with anger. "This isn't over, Mia," he said before turning and walking away. When Greg finally disappeared from sight, Mia let out a shaky sigh. Ethan turned to her, concern evident in his eyes. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. Mia nodded, hugging Noah tightly. "Yeah, I just need to go home now." Ethan helped collect the picnic things, his heart heavy with what he had just witnessed. As he watched Mia and Noah walk away, he made a silent promise to himself. He would do everything in his power to protect them, no matter the cost. The day that had started out so promising was now tainted by the shadow of Mia's past. Ethan knew that the road ahead would be even more challenging than he had imagined, but his determination only grew. He wouldn't let Mia and Noah face this alone. Not this time. The days following the incident in the park were tense. Ethan could barely concentrate at work, his mind constantly going back to Mia and Noah. He had increased the frequency of his messages and calls, always under the pretext of checking that they were okay. One Wednesday afternoon, Ethan parked his car in front of Noah's school. As promised, he was there to take the boy to soccer practice. As he waited, he couldn't help but notice a dark car parked on the other side of the street. Something about it seemed out of place. Noah came out of the school, his face lighting up when he saw Ethan. "Hi, Ethan," he shouted, running towards him. "Hey, champ." Ethan smiled, ruffling the boy's hair. "Ready to kick ass at practice?" As he helped Noah into his seatbelt, Ethan noticed through the rearview mirror that the dark car had started its engine. A shiver ran down his spine. During the drive, Noah talked animatedly about his day at school, but Ethan was torn between paying attention to the boy and watching the car that followed them at a discreet distance. When they reached the soccer field, Ethan made a point of escorting Noah to the coach. "Remember," he told the boy, "I'll be right there in the stands the whole time. If you need anything, just wave, okay?" Noah nodded, running excitedly to join his teammates. Ethan positioned himself in the stands, from where he had a clear view of both the field and the parking lot. The dark car was there, stationary. His heart raced when he saw a familiar figure step out of it. Greg. Discreetly, Ethan picked up his cell phone and called Mia. "Ethan, is everything okay with Noah?" Mia's voice sounded worried on the other end of the line. "Noah's fine. He's already started training," Ethan reassured her. "But, Mia, Greg's here." There was a tense silence on the other end. "What? How did he—" "I don't know, but he's followed us since school," Ethan explained. "Don't worry, I won't let him near Noah." "I'm on my way there right now," Mia said, her voice shaking. "No, Mia," Ethan insisted. "That's exactly what he wants. Stay where you are, I'll take care of it. Trust me." After a moment's hesitation, Mia reluctantly agreed. "Please take care of my son, Ethan." "With my life," he promised before hanging up. Ethan watched Greg approach the stands. He stood up, positioning himself so as to block the other man's view of the pitch. "What do you want, Greg?" Ethan asked, his voice low and controlled. Greg smiled, but there was no warmth in his eyes. "I just came to watch my son play soccer. Is it a crime now?" "It is when you're violating a restraining order," Ethan retorted. Greg's eyes narrowed. "You don't know anything about my family, Caldwell. Do you think you can just walk in and take my place?" Ethan took a deep breath, controlling his anger. "I'm not taking any place. I'm just being a friend to Mia and Noah, something they desperately need after what you did." Greg stepped forward, menacingly. "Be careful what you say. You have no idea what I'm capable of." "Actually, I do," Ethan replied, his voice laced with contempt. "And that's why I won't let you near them again." For a moment, it looked as if Greg was going to attack. But then his eyes turned to the field where Noah was happily running with the ball. Something in his expression changed. "He looks happy," Greg muttered, almost to himself. Ethan, seeing an opening, spoke more softly. "He is, and he deserves to stay that way, Greg. Don't you think you've done enough damage?" Greg looked at Ethan, a mixture of anger and defeat in his eyes. "It's not over," he said, but his voice had lost some of its earlier menace. As Greg walked away, Ethan felt relief flood his body. He turned his attention to the field where Noah had just scored a goal. The boy's beaming smile was contagious. Later, as he drove Noah back home, Ethan couldn't help but reflect on the day's events. He knew that Greg's threat still hung over them, but he was determined to protect Mia and Noah, no matter the cost. When they arrived, Mia was waiting anxiously at the door. Noah ran to hug her, excitedly telling her about the training session and the goal he had scored. When Noah entered, Mia turned to Ethan, her eyes full of gratitude and something else, something that made Ethan's heart race. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything." Ethan smiled, gently touching Mia's arm. "Whenever you need me, I promise." As he said goodbye and walked back to his car, Ethan knew that his life had changed irrevocably. The emptiness he had felt for so many years was being filled with something more precious than any material wealth: love, purpose, and the chance to make a difference in the lives of people who really mattered. The following weeks brought a new routine for Ethan, Mia, and Noah. What began as occasional visits soon turned into regular dinners, afternoons in the park, and movie nights. For Ethan, every moment with them was a treasure, filling a void he didn't even know existed. One particularly pleasant Saturday afternoon, Ethan suggested a trip to the Bronx Zoo. Noah's face lit up at the idea, and even Mia, who was initially hesitant, eventually gave in to her son's enthusiasm. As they walked among the cages and exhibits, Ethan couldn't help but notice how much they looked like a family. Noah ran around, pointing out animals and asking endless questions. Mia, on the other hand, seemed more relaxed than Ethan had ever seen her, her smile easy and genuine. Stopping in front of the lion enclosure, Noah tugged Ethan's hand. "Ethan, did you know that lions can sleep up to 20 hours a day?" Ethan feigned surprise. "Wow, really? That's more than I sleep in a week." Noah laughed, and the sound filled Ethan's heart with joy. Mia watched the interaction with a soft gaze, a small smile playing on her lips. Later, while Noah was distracted by the penguins, Mia approached Ethan. "Thank you for that," she said softly. "I can't remember the last time I saw Noah so happy." Ethan felt his heart race at her closeness. "The pleasure is all mine. To see you both happy, that's all I want." Mia looked him in the eye, a mixture of emotions flashing across her face. For a moment, it looked like she was going to say something more, but Noah interrupted them, pulling them away to see the elephants. The day passed all too quickly, and soon they were back at Mia's apartment. Noah, exhausted but happy, fell asleep in the car on the way. "I'll take him," Ethan offered, picking Noah up gently in his arms. Mia nodded, opening the apartment door. Ethan carried Noah to his room, carefully placing him on the bed. When he turned around, he saw Mia standing in the doorway, watching them with a look he couldn't quite decipher. Back in the living room, a comfortable silence settled between them. Ethan knew he should leave, but something kept him there, as if this moment was too fragile to be interrupted. "Ethan," Mia began, her voice low and hesitant, I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done for us." He approached her, taking her hands in his. "Mia, you don't need to thank me. Being with you, being part of your lives, it's more than I ever dreamed I deserved." Mia's eyes filled with tears. "I'm afraid," she confessed. "Afraid of trusting again, of getting hurt, of Noah getting hurt." "I understand," Ethan said softly. "And I promise I'll never do anything to betray that trust. We'll go at your pace, Mia. There's no rush." She looked at him, her eyes searching his. Slowly, almost hesitantly, Mia leaned forward. Ethan felt his heart stop when her lips touched his, a soft kiss full of promise. When they parted, Ethan saw a mixture of vulnerability and determination in Mia's eyes. "It won't be easy," she said. "We still have a lot to sort out, Greg. We'll face it together," Ethan promised, "one day at a time." At that moment, A small noise made them turn around. Noah was standing in the doorway, rubbing his eyes sleepily. "Mom? Ethan? Are you getting married?" Mia blushed intensely, while Ethan couldn't hold back a smile. "Hey, champ," he said, bending down so that he was Noah's height. "How about we go back to bed and leave this conversation for another day?" Noah yawned, allowing Ethan to pick him up. As he carried him back to the bedroom, Ethan exchanged a look with Mia. There was so much to be said, so much to be resolved, but at that moment, everything seemed possible. Later, when Ethan finally said goodbye, promising to return the next day for a family lunch, he felt lighter than he had in years. The road ahead was still uncertain, with challenges he could barely imagine. But for the first time in a long time, Ethan Caldwell felt truly at home. As he drove back to his apartment, Ethan made a silent promise to himself, Mia and Noah. He would do everything in his power to protect and nurture this new family that was forming. The void in his heart, which no amount of success or wealth had been able to fill, was finally finding its purpose. The weeks turned into months, and the relationship between Ethan, Mia, and Noah blossomed. What began as a cautious reconnection evolved into a deep and loving bond. Ethan found himself rearranging his life to fit into their routine, prioritizing family dinners and weekends together over business meetings and social events. One Thursday evening, while Ethan was helping Noah with his homework at the kitchen table, Mia received a phone call that would change everything. Her face paled as she listened, and Ethan immediately realized that something was wrong. "Mia?" he asked softly when she hung up. "What's wrong?" She took a deep breath, trying to keep her composure in front of Noah. "Can we talk in the living room?" Ethan nodded, turning to Noah. "Hey, champ, how about finishing that last problem yourself? I'll be back in a minute to check, okay?" In the living room, Mia collapsed on the sofa, her hands shaking. "That was my lawyer," she began, her voice low and shaky. "Greg, he's filing for shared custody of Noah." Ethan felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. "He can't do that, can he? After everything that's happened." Mia shook her head, tears starting to form in her eyes. "Apparently, he's been through a rehabilitation program. He's been attending anger management meetings. His lawyer is arguing that he's changed and deserves a second chance with his son." Ethan sat down next to her, pulling her into a hug. "We're going to fight this, Mia. I won't let him hurt you or Noah again." She snuggled into his arms, allowing herself to be vulnerable. "I'm so scared, Ethan. What if he succeeds? What if he takes Noah?" "That won't happen," Ethan promised, his voice firm. "I'll call in the best lawyers. We'll do whatever it takes to keep Noah safe." In the days that followed, their life became a whirlwind of meetings with lawyers, preparing documents and trying to keep Noah out of the situation. Ethan practically moved into Mia's apartment, determined to be there for every moment. One night, after Noah had gone to bed, Ethan found Mia on the balcony, looking out over the city. He approached her silently, wrapping his arms around her. "What are you thinking about?" he asked softly. Mia sighed. "How quickly everything has changed. A few months ago, I could hardly imagine trusting anyone again. And now?" She turned to face him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Ethan, I don't know what I'd do without you. You've become so important to me, to Noah." Ethan felt his heart fill with emotion. "Mia, you two are my life now. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you." At that moment, filled with a certainty he had never felt before, Ethan knelt in front of her. "Mia Thompson, I love you. I love you and Noah more than I ever thought it possible to love anyone. I know the timing may not seem ideal, with everything that's going on, but would you marry me?" Mia was speechless for a moment, tears now running freely down her face. "Ethan, are you sure? With all this going on?" He smiled, taking her hands in his. "I've never been so sure of anything in my life. I want to face this and anything else life throws at us, by your side, as a family." With a sob that was half laugh, Half cry, Mia threw herself into his arms. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." The moment of joy was interrupted by the sound of small footsteps. Noah was standing at the balcony door, his eyes wide. "Mom, Ethan, what's going on?" Mia and Ethan exchanged a glance, before Ethan bent down to meet Noah's gaze. "Hey, champ. Your mom and I have something important to tell you. How about we sit down?" Over the next few minutes, they gently explained to Noah about the wedding and what it would mean. To their surprise and relief, the boy's face lit up with a huge smile. "Does this mean you're going to be my dad now?" Noah asked Ethan, his voice full of hope. Ethan felt his heart squeeze with excitement. "If you want, Noah, I'd love to be your dad." Noah threw himself into Ethan's arms, hugging him tightly. "I want to! I want to!" As he hugged Noah and reached out to Mia, forming a group hug, Ethan felt an unshakable certainty. No matter what Greg or anyone else tried, he would protect his family with everything he had. The battle for custody of Noah was yet to come, and it would be difficult. But that night, cuddled on the balcony under the New York stars, Ethan, Mia, and Noah were more than just three individuals. They were a family, united by love and the determination to face any storm that came, together. Autumn arrived in New York, bringing with it not only the golden leaves falling in the city's parks, but also the weight of the impending court battle. The trial date for Noah's custody was approaching, and the tension was palpable in the apartment Ethan now shared with Mia and Noah. On a cool October morning, Ethan woke up early to find Mia already in the kitchen, an untouched cup of coffee in front of her. Her eyes were marked by deep, dark circles, evidence of the sleepless nights. "Hey," he said softly, kissing her on the forehead. "Did you get any sleep?" Mia shook her head, a tired smile on her lips. "Not much. I keep thinking about what might happen today." Ethan sat down next to her, taking her hands in his. "We're going to face this together, remember? We have the best lawyers, all the evidence. Greg doesn't stand a chance." At that moment, Noah entered the kitchen, his school uniform impeccable. "Good morning," he said cheerfully, seemingly oblivious to the tension in the air. Mia forced a smile. "Good morning, darling. Ready for school?" As Noah ate his breakfast, Ethan and Mia exchanged worried glances. They had decided not to tell Noah about the hearing, not wanting to worry him unnecessarily. After dropping Noah off at school, Ethan and Mia headed to the courthouse. Their lawyer, a middle-aged man called Robert Hawkins, was waiting for them at the entrance. "Are you ready?" he asked, his voice conveying confidence. Ethan nodded, squeezing Mia's hand. "Let's get this over with." The courtroom was packed. Friends and family from both sides occupied the benches. When Greg entered, Ethan felt Mia tense beside him. Greg looked different, tidier, more in control, but his eyes still had that cold glint that Ethan recognized. The judge entered and the session began. For hours, witnesses were called, evidence presented. Greg's lawyer argued about his rehabilitation, about how he had changed and deserved a second chance with his son. When it was Mia's turn to testify, Ethan felt his heart squeeze. She took to the witness stand, her voice shaky at first, but gaining strength as she spoke. She told of the abuse, of the constant fear, of how Greg had threatened her and Noah. "Your son is the most important thing in your life, isn't he, Mrs. Thompson?" Greg's lawyer asked during cross-examination. "Yes, absolutely," Mia answered without hesitation. "Then why are you trying to prevent him from having a relationship with his father?" Mia took a deep breath before answering. "Because Noah's well-being comes first. And Greg, he's not safe, no matter how much he says he's changed." The turning point came when Noah himself was called in for a private conversation with the judge. Ethan and Mia waited anxiously outside the room, their hands intertwined in mutual support. When the judge returned, his face was serious. After hearing all the evidence and testimony, including the conversation with young Noah, I have come to a decision. The silence in the room was deafening. Ethan could hear his own heart beating. Full custody of Noah Thompson is granted to Ms. Mia Thompson. Mr. Gregory Thompson will be entitled to monthly supervised visits, subject to ongoing evaluation and participation in therapy. Mia let out a sob of relief, falling into Ethan's arms. Across the room, Greg looked stunned, his mask of control finally cracking. As they left the courtroom, a crowd of reporters awaited them. Ethan shielded Mia, guiding her quickly to the car. "It's over," he whispered, kissing her forehead. "You're safe now." On the way to pick Noah up from school, Mia finally let the tears fall freely. "I can't believe it," she said between sobs. "We can finally move on." When they arrived at the school, Noah ran up to them, his face lighting up at the sight of Ethan and Mia together. "How was your day?" he asked innocently. Ethan knelt down, making himself the boy's height. "It was a very important day, champ. How about we go for an ice cream? We've got a lot to talk about." That night, after gently explaining to Noah what had happened, the little family snuggled on the sofa, watching a movie. Noah fell asleep between Ethan and Mia, a peaceful smile on his face. Ethan looked at Mia, seeing in her the same sense of relief and hope that he felt. "We're really doing this, aren't we?" he asked softly. "We're a family." Mia smiled, tears of happiness in her eyes. "Yes, we are. And I couldn't be happier." While the city outside continued its frenetic pace, in that small Manhattan apartment, a new family quietly celebrated their future together, finally free from the shadows of the past. Spring arrived in New York, bringing with it not only the blooming of flowers in the city's parks, but also a new phase in the lives of Ethan, Mia, and Noah. The apartment that once seemed like a refuge from the storms of life was now overflowing with joy and anticipation. It was a sunny Saturday, and Central Park was full of families enjoying the pleasant weather. Among them, Ethan and Mia walked hand in hand, while Noah ran ahead, chasing soap bubbles that floated in the air. "I still can't believe we've come this far," Mia said, her gaze fixed on Noah, who was giggling nonchalantly. Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "I know. Sometimes it feels like a dream." They stopped by the lake, watching the ducks that swam peacefully. Noah approached, his cheeks flushed with excitement. "Dad, Mom, can I feed the ducks?" he asked, his eyes shining with anticipation. Ethan's heart filled with emotion when he heard Noah call him Dad. Even after months, the feeling was still new and wonderful. "Sure thing, champ," Ethan replied, handing Noah a bag of breadcrumbs. "Just remember not to throw too much at once, okay?" While Noah busied himself with the ducks, Ethan and Mia sat down on a nearby bench. Mia leaned her head on Ethan's shoulder, letting out a contented sigh. "You know," she began, "when I think about everything we've been through to get here, sometimes I'm still afraid that something might go wrong." Ethan hugged her tighter. "It's normal to have that fear, Mia. But look at us now. Look at Noah. We're fine. We're safe." Mia smiled, nodding. "You're right. And tomorrow we officially start our life as a family." The next day would be their wedding, an intimate ceremony, with only close friends and family, just as they had planned. Suddenly, Noah came running back, his eyes wide with excitement. "Mom, Dad, look what I found!" In his hands, he held a small turtle. "Wow, that's great, Noah!" Ethan exclaimed, examining the little animal. "But remember, we can't take it home. This is its home." Noah nodded, understanding. "Can we keep her a little longer before we let her go?" Mia smiled. "Of course, darling. But just a few more minutes, okay?" As Noah proudly showed off his discovery, Ethan couldn't help but think how that little moment perfectly symbolized his journey. Just like the turtle, they had faced challenges, hidden in their shells out of fear, but now they were ready to face the world together. In the evening, Back at the apartment, the atmosphere was one of joyful anticipation. Suitcases were packed for the three of them's honeymoon together, a trip to Disneyland that Noah couldn't wait for. After Noah went to bed, Ethan found Mia on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, hugging her from behind. Mia turned in his arms, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. "How grateful I am. For you, for Noah, for this second chance at life." Ethan kissed her softly. "I'm the one who's grateful, Mia. You and Noah have shown me the true meaning of success and happiness." The next morning, the apartment was a whirlwind of activity. Noah, dressed in a small suit, kept fidgeting while Mia adjusted his bow tie. "Remember your special assignment today, champ?" Ethan asked, smiling. Noah nodded solemnly. "Yes, I'll take the rings." The ceremony, held in a beautiful garden on the outskirts of the city, was simple and emotional. As Mia walked down the makeshift aisle, with Noah by her side carrying the rings, Ethan felt his heart overflow with love. Vows were exchanged, tears were shed, and finally, the justice of the peace declared them man and wife. The small crowd of guests erupted in applause as Ethan and Mia kissed, with Noah jumping for joy alongside them. During the reception, while the guests danced and celebrated, Ethan found himself alone for a moment, watching his new family. Mia laughed at something a friend had said, her face beaming with happiness. Noah danced awkwardly with one of Mia's cousins, his small face a mask of concentration. At that moment, Ethan felt a deep peace settle in his heart. The void that had haunted him for so many years was finally filled. He had found his home, his purpose, his true wealth. Mia saw him watching and walked over to him, holding out her hand. "Come dance with me, Mr. Caldwell." She smiled. Ethan took her hand, pulling her close. "With pleasure, Mrs. Caldwell." As they danced, with Noah soon joining them in a kind of dancing group hug, Ethan knew that, no matter what the future held, they would face it together, as a family. And so, under the starry New York sky, a new story began. A story of love, redemption, and second chances. A story that proved that sometimes happy endings are just the beginning of something even more beautiful. If you had the chance to rewrite your past and win back a lost love, but it meant facing unimaginable challenges, would you risk everything for a second chance at happiness? Leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below, letting us know what you thought. Your feedback and support mean a lot to us. Stay tuned for more exciting stories.